Hey everybody, this is Dr. Blue of the Better Life Empowerment broadcast, and we're so thankful for you joining in with us today. I'm going to be teaching on this life cycle of money, the life cycle of money. It gives me great joy to be able to have this privilege because when I learned how to break the back of poverty off my life and to build wealth, and the fact that it's different than what you think, that building wealth is not the accumulation of currency, but it is the positioning of yourself that what you accumulate can grow and be protected. Then that's when you begin to understand the power behind true wealth creation. And we're committed to you, with you at Blue Enterprises, Inc. and the Wacoa Firm, Inc., to really making sure you're able to learn, be empowered, and make decisions that can better your family. So we're going to go ahead here with the 7-step life cycle of money, which we're going to be discussing here today. And I pray that you're able to get a pen and paper and follow along with us. There's going to be powerful information that's going to change your situation, and I'm sure of that. Okay, well, let's get started. First and foremost, we start off when it comes to the cycle of money with stage 1. This is where a barter market begins. See, societies organize and begin to function with a basic barter system for trading goods. The incipient barter is a direct exchange of goods for goods. Goods are defined as wealth, and wealth is produced when human labor and knowledge is used to extract natural resources from the earth. That's where we get intrinsic value. As the citizen progresses, services become valuable and are bartered from one person to another. A citizen produce or barter his goods and or services, and their perceived value to the community is equal to his individual or his family's wealth. Stage 1 leads us to stage number 2, where free market money emerges. After a barter economy is well established, a society progressive to the concept of free market money, and a currency system emerges, having a recognizable, reliable, uniform unit of monetary exchange that facilitates businesses, commerce, and trade within and between citizens and communities and societies. And for 5,000 years, I want you to hear this, the currencies of choice have been gold and silver. And many civilizations have selected these precious metals based on trial and error and often independent of each other. It was the philosopher Aristotle who proposed 4 critical attributes for money nearly 2,500 years ago. Here's what he wrote: that money must be durable, it must be portable, it must be divisible, and intrinsically valuable. See, gold and silver has been repeatedly determined to be the best source of value because it does not tarnish, it does not corrode, and is easily stored and convenient to transport great distances, and it can be minted in small or uniform pieces. And by the way, gold and silver is scarce. That means not everybody have it, which gives it its value. Although not as ideally situated as gold, silver have often served as a primary monetary instrument for trade or exchange. This leads us to stage number 3, where the government comes and regulates the market. See, communal order is required in a functional society, and therefore a government is formed. And sometimes later, the government becomes involved in the regulation of the marketplace. Its size and its power begins to grow to control more and more of the aspects of business, commerce, and trade. Laws and rules and regulations are instituted to regulate and control trade through tariffs, to track taxes, through quotas and penalties, and taxes are imposed as a means to limit the wealth of ordinary citizens and preserve the power of the rulers and support the growing government agenda. See, the economic system is increasingly divorced from a free market and forced to operate in a regulatory regime where government controls the monetary supply. Stage 3 is where the government begins to regulate and control the money. And then that leads us to stage 4. This is where the government monopolizes the money. The government takes absolute control over the money supply and sets up a currency system to issue official coinage from a central bank or a central mint. The central bank or the central mint controls the size, the design, the weight, or the purity of the coinage, and later the government issues a paper promissory note redeemed in coinage and decrees that these notes are now money, i.e., where we get the term fiat currency. Fiat currency is then exchangeable for goods and services backed by its own laws, and the government institutes a monopoly of the monetary system and forbids local governments, local banks, and citizens to compete by issuing public or private currencies, which means that, just like we see today, the reserve currency of the world is the U.S. dollar. All right, well, which again has no value. There's no gold or silver backing it, and I'll show you that in a moment. But at the same time, nobody can create any other currency to rival or compete against the U.S. dollar. I'm not saying that somebody would want to, but again, this is where the government monopolizes the money. This brings us to stage number 5. This is where the government debases the money. And the government must increase taxes to sustain its continual growth, and the citizens protest the seizure of their hard-earned wealth through erroneous taxation. In order to fund its growing obligations and lessen dissent from higher taxes, the government begins to debase the value of its money. Historically, governments have shaved off pieces of gold coins and silver coins and issued smaller coins or made coins with less gold or silver inside of them. And the next step occurs when the government removes all precious metals from its coinage and eventually declares that its promissory notes no longer are redeemable in precious metals. At this point, there is no basis to the monetary system other than the government's promise to pay. And that's what we saw in 1975, I believe it is, when Nixon took the dollar off of the gold standard, which means that the U.S. dollar, can no longer be redeemed in gold or silver. That's what we're seeing here in the life cycle of money, as you can see it right here. But then, watch this here. I want you to understand this. The issuance of currency without backing by precious metals allows the government to create money at will for its own purposes. The government creates more and more money, and because the currency in circulation increases while the availability of goods and services remain the same, prices increase. The increase in money supply is also known as inflation, and the consistently rising prices for goods and services are a byproduct of that inflation. See, inflation robs the citizens of savings by decreasing the purchasing power of their money. Inflation, I'm going to say it again, robs citizens of their wealth and their savings by decreasing the purchasing power of their money. What do I mean by that? When you take a look at Coca-Cola back in the 1950s and 60s, you can buy a Coke for as little as about 5 cents at any soda fountain or any pharmacy or drugstore. Same company, same ingredients, same drink, maybe minus one ingredient, give or take. But the reality is, if you go get a Coca-Cola today, that same Coca-Cola that was 5 cents back then now is over $1, almost $2 for a single serving. Does that not concern you? Why is it that back then it was only 5, today it's over $1 or more, and that's only because the purchasing power of your money, the money in your pocket, my pocket, your wallet, your purse, your bank account, your savings, your 401k plan, your 401(b), that money has lost its purchasing power and will continue to do so. And this is why it's imperative that you recognize that if you don't start taking action now, you're going to miss the opportunity to do something later. And that leads us to step number 6, where there's no longer confidence in money and there's a collapse of the money system.